lets us know on that commercial. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Been a hell of a week on the show. And this is the last segment. We thought we would go out with the best segment of the week. And we welcome in the Hail State Hoops coach. Back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances. Chris Jans joins us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Coach, good morning.
Good morning, Bo. I was actually listening as you set up this segment, and I'm like, there must be some other people coming on if you're doing the best for last type deal. That's kind of what you said, but hopefully you got some surprise visitors here after this one.
Well, we're hosting a lunch today, so
Okay.
and we're having Bloody Marys and beer in studio.
Oh.
So that's kind of cool.
Wow.
You know, some clients, and we call them P1s, like, you know, people who listen all the time. And so we are doing that, but they're not going to be on the show. But we did decide to save the best for last, and that's having you on the show. How you been? How's your summer?
It's been good. It's fast. You know, it's almost July, which is kind of wild, but you know, so far so good. Just kind of doing what we do in the summer, get a little time away in May, and then kids come back for summer school, and we're back on the court, trying to get acclimated with one another, and certainly recruiting never rests. We're actually on the road right now, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that keep good service as I travel, but so far so good.
All right. Well, tell me about so you've got these guys coming back, like Josh Hubbard, Cam Matthews, and Keyshawn, and Sean Jones, but I'd like to start with Hub and Matthews. What were some of the things when you sat down with them, you know, once you flushed out the season, I'm thinking April, May, but whenever, if you had time between the portal and everything, that you said, hey, here's where I want y'all to get better. This is what you need to do, and this is where I would love for you to be by November, Coach?
I think it's pretty obvious. You know, you want to change your life dramatically in a basketball sense, in a professional sense, is, you know, make open shots, man. You know, just figure out a way to spend enough time when no one's watching to be able to make shots. Because if you do that, then it changes your whole future from a basketball perspective, if that's what you want to do. And certainly in the short term, it's going to change, you know, your productivity next year. It's going to change our team. And then I'm going to ask a lot more of you in terms of a leadership role. You know, some of his partners in crime are now with DJ and Tolu. With, you know, DJ obviously a high school teammate of his, and Tolu a guy that's been together and we're close. And you know, it's going to be different now. And but you're kind of the elder statesman, if you will, and with that comes some responsibility that you're capable of, and I'm going to ask him to take the next step when it comes to just being a solid leader. And it starts with, you know, his approach to practice every single day. And but that's kind of the main things that we talk about with him.
Chris Jans on the Out of Bounds show. Talking about Cam Matthews, do you think there's a lot more upside and runway for him on the offensive end, as far as, I mean, you know, Hub can pump it in and score at a high level. And it looks to me like, and you can weigh in on this a little bit later in the interview, looks to me like you and your assistants got him some really good help out on the perimeter. But when you look at Cam, do you think there's a lot more room for growth on the offensive end, Coach?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you know, we figured out a way to try to utilize his talent and his ability. You know, we put packages together where, you know, he was kind of the lead guard, if you will, and the decision maker, which kind of back in the day, point forward used to call him. You probably remember a guy named Paul Pressey. That was the first time I remember, you know, the point forward was introduced to the NBA, and with Cam, his vision and his size and all that, we felt like we needed to utilize it. And so we started doing that a little bit, and it kind of grew. And Murph got, you know, his hand in it a little bit of as well. And certainly feel like we can expand upon that. And then he's so unique. He's a hard guard. Like, you know, with certain guys, you can take away a strength and really make them a little more limited that way. But he scores in such a variety of ways, with the offensive rebounding and the driving and running the floor without the ball and, just slashing, etc. And like I said, being able to make those open shots would certainly make.
Yeah, I noticed y'all ran so many more sets with him at the point forward, and it looked like it strained the defense and put a lot more pressure on them, and definitely helped Hubbard. We're visiting with Chris Jans, back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show and the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. So you mentioned Keyshawn. This is a young man who's still raw, but he had his moments at times last year. And with his wingspan and his ability to both play inside and out, what are your goals? What do you envision like his role 5-6 months from now, as far as what all you want to do with him, Chris?
Yeah, I don't, to be honest with you, I try not to let myself do that. People will always ask me, who's going to start? Who do you think's going to start? And I never give them an answer because I truly try not to put them in boxes. I think it's unfair, and it's almost like that I'm rooting for that to happen because I want to be right in my mind. So, we let it play out. That's where it should be, like competition, and let everybody earn, their minutes or their role, or if it's a starting role or a bench role or whatever it may be. And but specifically with Keyshawn, like the biggest thing is just be healthy. I mean, he's had so many setbacks since he's arrived in college, even before I got here, with all the surgeries. And then last summer, he was starting to, kind of come around and get his feet underneath him and feeling better and moving better. And then all of a sudden, he's got the stress fracture, and that sets him out for, 10, 12 weeks and really set him back. And the biggest thing is just to be healthy and to have no unforeseen circumstances hit him that would set him back again. And if he does that, then he, who knows where it could go. I mean, you said it. I mean, he's so versatile. He's got so much game, so much upside. But when you get to this point in your career, we can't be talking about potential anymore. It's got to be productivity.
Sure.
At some point, as you get older, the potential word is a negative word. And he and I have talked about that. But a lot of it is just setbacks, just injuries that have slowed his progression down. But he's a big key for us. I mean, I know that. I mean, he can make us different. Like you said, just multiple position guy and do a lot of things. And he's been great so far. We're almost at the halfway point of our summer workouts, and he's had a really good summer thus far.
He is Chris Jans on the Out of Bounds show, talking Hail State hoops. I got to throw something out at you because you and I have talked about Rick Pitino on the show. And I listened to an interview with Pitino 2 months ago, and I took these notes because I thought, all right, I'm going to bounce this off Jans, see what he thinks. Because you and I both love him. I think he's one of the best ever. And he's fascinating to me and the way he's, evolved and pivoted throughout the years. And so in the interview, and I quote, I'm going to throw this out, see what you think. He said, Pitino said, I spend a lot more time on offense today in creating ball movement and player movement than I ever did. He said 90% of the walkthrough when I was a young coach was geared towards, was defensively and stopping the opposition. He said today in walkthroughs, it's 50% getting ready to score and 50% stopping an offense. What are your thoughts on what Pitino said a couple of months ago in an interview, Coach?
Makes sense. I would tend to agree that most coaches that had a mentality like he did were raised in basketball where it started on that end of the floor and taking away your opponent's crutches, making them score in ways that were out of their comfort zone was a huge goal for people, again, that looked at the game that way, and certainly he was one of them. I would agree that the kids' skill sets today are a lot different than they were back, quote unquote, back in the day, with the dribble drive and the ball skills and just how much more talented the guys are walking in the door than they were when you usually got them. So finding ways to maximize them offensively, and to be honest with you, like certainly defense is still really, really important, and that's where we start. But like sometimes it doesn't matter. I mean, you get them in space, and offensive the game is certainly changing and evolving, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, they're well coached, and they understand how to put people in position to take advantage of all that skill set we're talking about. So I would tend to agree with what he's saying. I'm not sure if we're at a point where we're 50-50 on certain game day shoot-arounds. I would say it still leans more to the defensive end of the court, but I can tell you, like, that other end, the offensive end, gets way more time than it used to, and a lot of it's like I already mentioned. But the other thing is just playing a style that is aesthetically pleasing. We are in the entertainment business. Certainly, winning's the number one factor, and then two, from a recruiting perspective, if you're not playing the way that the NBA is playing, or at least having a somewhat similar look, then they're not maybe attracted to it, because that's the goal for most of the kids, is to be able to be in a system where they can prove that they can play at that next level. And so there's a lot of factors that definitely go into style of play.
Chris Jans on the Out of Bounds show and the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. A lot of excitement. Hub's back. Cam Matthews, Keyshawn, Sean Jones, and then brought in some dudes in the portal. Kugel from Florida, Clary from Penn State, among others. And so they're putting together their team this summer, and of course this fall. Okay, speaking of NBA, I knew I was having you on this week, and I watched some of the NBA draft the other night, first round. And I'm at Philip M's, great steakhouse at Pearl River Resort. I'm sipping on some vino, got a ribeye. I'm looking at how it's unfolding. Reed Shepherd goes off the board. I'm like, man, I got to see him play live. Dillingham, Silky Smooth, got to see him play live. Dalton Knecht goes 17th to the Lakers. Kind of talk about Dalton Knecht's game. I mean, y'all beat Tennessee. Tennessee was really good, and you had two, hell of a games with them. One in the Hump and one in Nashville in the SEC basketball tournament. And I think all three of those young men are special, Chris. But I felt, other than Hub and Matthews, I fell in love with Dalton Knecht and just watching him play live and on TV. Talk a little bit about his game and what he brings to the table, and how he could be really good for the Lakers.
Yeah, he kind of went from, unless you were really deep into college basketball, I mean, not many people knew Dalton Knecht when he was at Northern Colorado or the junior college before that. So when he transferred to Tennessee, it didn't move the needle in the basketball industry. But boy, did he take the SEC and even college basketball by storm in the 1 year he played this past year. I think the thing that sticks out the most when you play against him is just how big he is.
Mm-hmm.
Film doesn't do justice, and you get on that court and you're competing against him, and he's a big, strong, and can move kid. He doesn't need me to motivate him. Like just being honest with you, we did a pretty good job against him, other than late in the second half at our place. He got loose on us, but we had obviously some bigger defenders last year with DJ Jeffries leading the way, and DJ really took the challenge. And one of the reasons why we were successful last year versus Tennessee was our job that we did against Dalton. But it was so much respect that we had for him that we felt like we had to kind of cut off the head of the snake, and it started with him. But he's obviously a heck of a talent. He's a little unique. He's older.
Right.
His draft has gotten younger and younger, and hopefully it gives motivation to all the guys that are traditional aged seniors, and hey, I can get drafted too, because the trend is definitely not that way. Yeah,
man, he was fun to watch, and you're right. Y'all did a great job against him in the two games. Chris Jans on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, going into year 3 in Starkville, back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances, a couple of the marquee players coming back in Hub and Matthews and adding some talent. What does I think you can talk about this guy. You can't. You can just say pass. But Riley Kugel from Florida, what does he bring to your squad and to your team, Coach?
Well, he's got some experience in the league, which always helps. He's got some been there, done that. You know, he's had some big games. He is very explosive. He's strong. You know, he can get his shoulder by you. He's one of those guys, kind of like Hub, that, you know, can go on an 8-0 run by himself and change the complexion of the game. You know, his biggest obstacle he's going to have to overcome, working with him now for the last 4 weeks, is just his consistency, his approach to being a two-way player, if you will. And certainly, you know, he knew what he was walking into playing against us and how we go about our daily expectations. And, you know, it's kind of what he was searching for. At least that's what he told us. And but, you know, we got a long way to go. I mean, we're I guess the best way to put it is we're in the pool, but we're not in the deep end yet. You know, we're still just waiting a little bit, and you know, we haven't started like swimming or anything. We're just trying to get acclimated to one another. And I tell them that, like, you know, just you can talk to the other guys. I mean, we're not, you know, even up to the speed limit yet. So we'll see. But he's got a lot of talent, and he's got a great body, great basketball body. He's gotten off to a good start, but you know, we'll know a lot more about him when we get into the fall.
How valuable are these summer practices? I mean, I guess they were valuable, but they're even more valuable. There's even more potential juice there and chemistry bonding and so on, because the way it is in college basketball now is you're going to bring in 4 to 6 guys every year. How valuable are the summer workouts and practices, Coach?
Yeah, I just can't imagine not having them. You know, unfortunately, I'm old now, and you know, I remember the days when they'd come in and, you know, they'd be looking around at you like, "You gonna coach me?" I'm like, "We can't." Like, you know, they play pickup. You know, they work with the strength coach, but we couldn't be in the court with them individually, collectively. There was no workouts. It was hands off, and it was. If you look back, it's like so odd to think about that now, that they're there on scholarship to be a student athlete, and they were going to class and they were, you know, in the weight room, but we couldn't coach them. It just kind of seems asinine at this point as you look back. But yeah, I can't imagine in the world we're living in now with the bigger classes and the higher turnover of not having some time on the court with them to get moving in that direction. And certainly, you know, you're not doing as much as maybe, you know, we all would like because of the rules, and they're in place for a reason, and we all understand that. But it's different this year. You know, last year we had the Portugal trip waiting for us at the end of the summer, so we got
that's right,
more hours per NCAA rules. When you go on one of those trips, you can only do it once every 4 years. So it's really like scary going, man, we were so far behind when we were last year because of that. But, you know, hopefully we will be able to catch up in the fall.
Okay. I forgot about Portugal. Yeah, that's an asset. What is that? That's an asset to do. Is that like every 3 or 4 years, 5, you're allowed to do that? How does that work, Chris?
4, if you choose to, you know, if your school allows it, and et cetera, but you can only go once every 4 years. There's a lot of coaches that, you know, behind the scenes are pining to make it unlimited, and, you know, because they want the practices. You get 10 extra additional practices for as long as you want when you go on one of those trips, and it's so invaluable. And then we're not even talking about the games that you get to play and the bonding that's done when you're in a foreign country, and, you know, there's no friends or family around, and, you know, you got to kind of talk to each other and get to know one another. And you know, I think that was one of the reasons why we did so well in the fall last year, even when Tolu, you know, wasn't available, is we just had a pretty tight group, and we were ahead of the game a little bit because of that. And, you know, we don't have that this year. I mean, it's not an excuse. It's just reality. And, you know, we as coaches and them as players are going to have to be just more efficient and understand that every time we're on the court, you know, we got to get the most out of it, you know, each and every day.
All right, one more before I let you go. Chris Jans on the show. You mentioned all the stuff y'all did last year, summer, Portugal, fall, and then you didn't have Tolu and Keyshawn. I mean, you were able to navigate your way through a tough, I mean, you had several Power 5 wins and so on. Knowing, you got to see him in the summer, Portugal, fall, so on. Did Hubbard exceed your expectations last year, Chris?
Oh, more than exceed. I mean, anyone, I don't care who it is, coach on my staff. I don't know anyone that could have predicted that. Like the only people, in my opinion, that believed that he was going to have that quality of a freshman year at Mississippi State were Josh Hubbard and his family. Maybe, some of his coaches that had coached him previously worked him out, etc. But like deep down, if you had your life was on the line and you had to say, hey, he's going to come in and average 17 points a game and be the leading scorer in the NCAA tournament at large team and have some of the bigger games that he has. I just don't. I don't think anyone could honestly say that except him. He believes, and that's one of his best qualities is his confidence and his belief and how he goes about doing it. And he had prepared his whole life for these moments and this platform, and he did it with such style and commitment, and he did it in a way where he was able to come in as a freshman and get respect from his teammates and do it where it could be a problem at some places. The young guy comes in and has that kind of role. There could be potential issues, and there were none because of the respect, because of how he went about doing it, because of his humble approach. So he definitely exceeded our expectations. We knew he was obviously a really good player, but that's asking a lot, and he did it. And I believe kids make their biggest jump in college from year one to year two, and hopefully that's going to ring true with him. And the cat's out of the bag, if you will, and now people are going to expect more, but he's got broad shoulders, and I don't think he's too concerned about it.
Hey, Chris, thanks so much for your time during the summer. We appreciate you and hope to catch up in a couple of months.
Well, it sounds like you got quite the afternoon planned, so have fun and behave.
All right. Chris Jans on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances. Josh Hubbard, Cam Matthews, among others, back, and they did some work in the portal, too. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.